Everyone, Fantasy Girl here, and it's been a while since I did a discussion video, so here is going to be a fun topic that I thought about earlier this week, and I just thought that it would be really fun to talk about real quick. Ever since finishing up The Sorrows of Wurlitz, I had thought about doing something like this, and when I saw this little interaction, I just couldn't stop myself. So this here is a theory that the spirits of Gaius' foster children are all actually still in Terncliff and they're watching over everyone. Now, why do I think this? Well, let me just look real back on a brief summary of everything that happened in The Sorrows of Wurlitz, so I'll try to make this quick. Now, years before the current storyline in the nation of Wurlit, Gaius Van Belsar conquered those lands in the name of the Empire. Not long after that, a sort of epidemic started hitting people, kinda like the pandemic going on in real life, I suppose. But the point is, the epidemic ended up killing a lot of people, including the parents of these 5 young orphans. Now, we have 5 Al-Ra children at this time, where we have Melissendia, Recon, Rex, and finally Alphonse and his little sister Ellie. Gaius was the one who found them all practically starved and begging for food at street corners, and he took them in. The 5 of them grew so close with each other they began to call themselves siblings, and they saw Gaius as their father for taking care of them. They decided that to thank Gaius for everything he's done and to follow in his footsteps to have the citizens look up to them as they do with him, they decided to join the Garlean military. After years of hard work and training, they were drafted into the army and eventually sent off to fight in Eorzea. However, after Gaius' defeat at the hands of the Warrior of Light, any respect that the Garleans had for them disappeared seemingly overnight because, again, they are Al-Ra, and a lot of Garleans look down on other races because they're not pure-blooded Garleans. Now, the 5 siblings were left pretty much at the mercy of Valent, who not only openly looked down on them for being Al-Ra, it was also stated that he used torture on them as punishments. Now, the life of the soldier is hard, and this definitely changed them because of everything that they've seen and experienced, but they still held true to Gaius' belief that the strong must lead the weak, and so they put up with it for the sake of the people they were trying to protect. When they were drafted into the Weapons Project, they saw this as their opportunity to change things. They all secretly planned to help finish the weapons and use them to overthrow the Empire out of the lands of Wurlit so that their people could be free. Now, Valens was the one who originally came up with the idea of the Weapons Project, especially with the idea of the synthetic Auracite, which is kind of like the beating, I don't know if brain or maybe even the heart of these weapons. Now, the driving force for all of this was so that he could take these weapons back to Garlemald and basically declare himself as the new emperor. Now, the idea with the synthetic Auracite is that they're actually downloaded with like the fighting capabilities and the combat data of seasoned warriors. Now, the idea of this is that even weak, inexperienced soldiers can suddenly gain the fighting experience of even seasoned warriors. So in his mind, if he had like an entire army of badasses fighting for him, he could just seize the throne and just declare himself the emperor, and no one would really be able to stop him, and he actually had a good point there. Yet, there was one downside about this whole idea. Not that he cared about it, but the fact is that the weapons that were downloaded with these particular fighting capabilities, like they were fused together with the synthetic Auracite, the pilots were all going to be sacrificed for it. So there was no ifs, ands, or buts about this. Valens knew that if he had pilots using the synthetic Auracites and when they activate Oversoul, they would fuse together with the core and basically be killed in the process. So with the exception of Allie, Alphonse and the others really figured out pretty quickly what this whole thing was about. They knew that if they used the weapons, it would kill them. However, at the same time, they felt that they didn't really stand much of a chance of being able to defeat Valens and put a stop to his plans without the weapons. And they felt that, well, their lives had to be put to good use, so they felt that the risk was worth the reward, especially if it ended up winning Wurlit's freedom. They kept the truth hidden from Allie all this time, however, because they all agreed that even if they should all die, they want to give her the chance to see a peaceful future. And so, while on the surface it looked like they were very loyal to Valens and they were supporting him and doing everything they can to make sure the weapons projects came to full fruition, the truth is that they were laboring in secret to overthrow him. Now, Melissendia was the first one to test out the weapons project, and she took the prototype ruby weapon to the Gimlet Dark in an attempt to break the stalemate between the Alliance and Garlemald. Now, the ruby weapon, again, was just a prototype. It was kind of just like a practice run. Valens didn't really care too much about the ruby weapon. What he wanted was the combat data. What he wanted was to test it out and see exactly what would happen. So Melisandre took the ruby weapon, but she was stopped by the Warrior of Light at the Cinder Drift, and she had no choice but to activate Oversoul, where in her final moments she was filled with agony as she was drained of her life's essence and fused with the core. After that, the combat data overtook her mind and transformed her body into a grotesque version of Nail Van Darnus, which thankfully was defeated by the Warrior of Light. Now, all the weapons up until this point were stored at a base in Terncliff. However, once Gaius and the Warrior of Light discovered where they were, they realized they had to take the other weapons and get out. They planned to use the unfinished Sapphire weapon to stall for time, and it was Rex who was originally supposed to be the Sapphire weapon's pilot. However, his younger brother Recon stepped in and took over to give the others time to escape. He used Oversoul right away to fuse with the core and was using the combat abilities of Regula to battle against the Warrior of Light who was inside the G-Warrior. And again, it's important to say here that it wasn't the battles with the Warrior of Light that killed them. It was when they were fused together with the core, which was designed to kill them from the start. It was said that the damage done to the weapons was very minimal compared to what Oversoul had done to them. So if they hadn't used Oversoul, then yes, they most likely would have survived. Now, thanks to Recon, Alphonse and the others were able to move both the Emerald and the Diamond weapon out in time. They took the Emerald weapon to a nearby castrum where they were able to finish it by the time that Gaius and the Warrior of Light tracked them down. This time, however, it was Rex who took full command of the Emerald weapon and battled with the Warrior of Light before he used Oversoul to fuse with the core, and this time it was the combat data of his own foster father that was brought to bear against the Warrior of Light. Still, the Warrior of Light was able to defeat the weapon, though there was no saving Rex afterwards. After the battle with the Emerald weapon, the Echo revealed to us that Allie discovered what they were planning and confronted her two brothers about this. They confessed the reason they kept it quiet was because they knew that she would try to stop them if she learned the truth. But they also said that they did this for her sake as well. They wanted her to live in a future where she didn't have to fight, where she could experience peace and find happiness, even if it meant that they couldn't be a part of it. And with the three of them pretty much alone at the castrum at that moment, both boys decided that this was their only opportunity to get Allie out of there alive. So Alphonse ordered Rex to lock her up inside one of the cells down below, knowing that Gaius would eventually come and confront them and also find Ellie, where they would take her into their care. After the battle, Alphonse had to return to the castrum in Werland, where he was confronted by Valens and punished harshly for not only losing both the Emerald and Sapphire weapons, but for letting Allie escape, who was supposed to be the next pilot for the Diamond weapon. Valens used his technology later on to fuse Alphonse's mind into the core of the Diamond weapon to perfect the synthetic Orocyte system. This all but killed his body in the process and turned him into a living part of the weapon. Meanwhile, after Allie ran away from Gaius and the others, she returned to Valens so that she could have a chance to save her brother, unaware of his fate at this point. She tried to use the Diamond weapon to kill Valens, but Alphonse's consciousness was still aware of what was going on and took control and protected Allie as he brought the castrum down around their ears and escaped with Ellie. After fighting with the Warrior of Light in the air on top of the rebuilt G-Warrior and later crashing in Werland, Gaius confronted Valens before Alphonse took over the weapon again. In his final moments, he was able to bring about revenge against Valens before he gave to Gaius the final piece, I guess the final gift to Ellie. It was part of the core, the Diamond weapon's core, which contained their memories, a parting gift for him to give to Ellie. Afterwards, he begged Gaius to put an end to him, which Gaius did. But it seems that these children may not be gone completely, for after you first arrive in Terncliff after defeating the Sapphire weapon, we see the image of two young Alrod children playing a game of hide and seek. We see a young girl with red hair, dressed all in red, chasing about her friend, a boy with green hair and dressed in blue. Now these two look just like Melisandre and Recon when they were young. In the interaction, the boy comments that he thought he had found a good hiding place, but she just laughs and tells him that she had found him and now all they had to do was find the others. After that, the two of them go running off and disappear into the town. But if you hang around during the daylight hours, you see the two of them continuing to run and play in an endless loop. Now, these kind of interactions aren't anything new in the game. But later on, after you visit, when you defeated the Emerald weapon, you see these two kids playing with a third child. This child is the spitting image of Rex, and if you look at their clothes, the girl is dressed in red, much like how Melissendia in the Ruby weapon. And the boy who looks like Recon is dressed in blue for the Sapphire weapon. And finally, the boy who looks like a young Rex is dressed in green like the Emerald weapon. He laughs when his friends find them and comments that he thought he had found a good hiding place where they couldn't find him, which they all just smile and run off to look for the others. Afterwards, much later finishing up the story, where we see another child join in playing with them, we see a boy with white hair looking like a young Alphonse. He's also found by the group of children, and if you watch the dialogue, they comment that where would they be without their big brother? That is when they mention that there is still one last child and the youngest sister who they have to find. But the Silver Hill boy just tells them that she won't be playing for a while since she is with father. The others are okay with this and say that they can just play later, and they just have the four of them for right now before they go running off. Yet, in this moment, just before the silver-haired boy chases them, he turns and looks at the cliff where Ellie and Gaius are last seen together, looking at the memorial that had been built in honor of those who had died. The boy says that he told his sister to stay with father, and that it will be a long time before she comes to join them. Hopefully a very long time. And with that, he turns around, chases after his friends, and disappears. Perhaps in more ways than one. So, are these the souls of the children that Gaius raised, or is it just some coincidence? Could it be that it's just a strange coincidence that these four kids look just like Alphonse and the others? Could it be just a strange coincidence that the children all started appearing one by one after the deaths of the pilots and the weapons? And could it be even more of a coincidence that the reason that the youngest sister is not able to play with them is because the brother told her to stay with father, and hopefully she will stay with him for a long, long time before joining them and playing again. In the memory of Alphonse and the others from the synthetic aura site, it is shown that the children are playing in a similar manner, playing tag and hide and seek just like the other children that we see today. But strangely enough, the other people in town don't pay any attention to these kids. Are they really just harmless children playing a game, or could it be that they aren't even noticed? Does the Echo have some part of this if this is the case? No one can say for sure, but one thing I do know. The four of them gave their lives for a chance that Ellie and others could live without fear, and they vowed to watch over their little sister and father. Perhaps a little closer than one would think. Anyway, everyone, this was just a fun little project I was thinking about ever since finishing The Sorrows of Werlet and seeing these kids. And I really like the idea of just having like these little ghost kids around, and it would explain why they keep disappearing and reenacting the same motions. Sure, I know we have other similar scenes all over Eorzea, but I just can't help but smile at this thought that they are watching over their tiny, broken family like they promised. Anyway, everyone, that's going to be it for right now. I really do miss doing these discussion videos, and I do want to do more of them in the upcoming days. Does anyone out there have any kind of requests or suggestions? I would love to hear about them. But yeah, I guess that's going to be it for right now. Thank you all so much for watching, and once again, this is Fantasy Girl here, signing out.